Pick up that ugly gray rock you just kicked off the trail. Drag a steel knife across the surface. If the blade slides off without leaving a scratch, you have confirmed something harder than steel in your hand, and you just ran a Mohs hardness test for free. Now, place that rock on a $15 kitchen scale. Weigh it dry. Suspend it in a cup of water on a paperclip. Weigh again, and divide. That is a specific gravity water displacement test. If the number lands at 4.0, you are holding raw sapphire worth up to $2,000 per carat, still dressed in its worthless-looking schist disguise. In 1895, a gold prospector named Jake Hoover pulled a cigar box full of these ugly gray pebbles from Yogo Gulch, Montana, and mailed them to Tiffany & Company in New York. Tiffany's gemologists wrote back confirming they were gem-quality sapphires. Over 18.2 million carats of corundum were hiding in that dirt. But Hoover sold his claim for $5,000. 2 months later, his former partners flipped it to British investors for $100,000. That is a 20-fold loss because he looked at the surface and never tested what was inside. Today, I am walking you through 5 rocks that look like absolute garbage on the outside, but transform into gems worth hundreds, sometimes thousands, the moment a saw blade bites through. Each one comes with the exact field test, the exact tool and its price, and the proof story that shows what happens when someone tests before they walk away. I have watched this transformation happen in Antwerp's Diamond District sorting rooms, where rough material arrives looking like gravel swept from a parking lot and leaves as 6-figure polished gems. The geology does not care about appearances. It rewards the ones who carry the right tools and the discipline to test before they discard. Thundereggs. If you have ever dug in the volcanic ash beds of Central Oregon, you know the feeling of hefting a lumpy gray-brown sphere that looks exactly like a dirty potato pulled from wet soil. The rind is rhyolite, rough and pitted, completely opaque. But inside, mineral-rich groundwater has been filling ancient cavities with agate, jasper, or opal for millions of years. The formation starts when rhyolitic lava cools and creates spherolites that generate internal pressure, cracking the rock into star-shaped voids called lithophysae. Silica-rich water seeps in and precipitates from the inside out. Therefore, what looks like a worthless lump on the outside is actually a sealed vault of color on the inside. At Richardson's Rock Ranch in Madras, Oregon, the Pride beds produced slabs selling for $50 to $500 each, depending on banding pattern. In 2019, a single exceptional slab sold for $1,200 at the Tucson Gem Show. That slab came from a rock indistinguishable from every other dusty lump in the pile. Before you cut, run a $25 365 nanometer UV lamp over the nodule in a dark room. If the interior glows green through a crack or thin spot, you likely have opal hiding inside. That one check saves you from wasting diamond blade time on dead rock. Richardson's closed its public dig pits permanently, but Bureau of Land Management ground in Central Oregon still allows up to 25 pounds per person per day. Hand tools only. You must verify there are no active mining claims before you dig. If you want more locations like this, exact coordinates, field guides, and the stones most people overlook, subscribe now. I cover new field-tested finds every single week. Rough sapphire in schist. This is the one that makes experienced prospectors physically ill when they realize what they threw away. You are staring at a chunk of dark, flaky schist, the color of wet asphalt, with a gray hexagonal barrel poking out. It looks like construction rubble, but cut perpendicular to the C-axis of that barrel, and you reveal blue, pink, or yellow corundum. Gem-quality sapphire sitting in a rock most people would kick into a ditch. At Yogo Gulch, those sapphires crystallize directly from molten rock inside a lamp rofire dike. That is why the color is so pure that Tiffany & Company called them the finest sapphires ever found in North America. But here is where the story turns dark. Jake Hoover recognized their potential just long enough to sell his claim in 1895 for $5,000. His former partners turned around and sold the exact same ground to Johnson, Walker, and Tolhurst for $100,000 2 months later, a 20-fold loss in 60 days. The English syndicate shipped the finest stones straight to London, and Hoover spent the rest of his life knowing what he gave away for pocket change. By 1929, the English mine had produced 2.5 million carats, valued at over $25 million. The American prospectors, who found them first, never saw that money. The mine is now private, but sapphire and schist occurs across Montana, Sri Lanka, and Kashmir. For field identification, use the specific gravity water test with your $15 kitchen scale. Corundum reads close to 4.0. If your scratch test shows that only a number 9 hardness pick, about $89 for a full mineral lab kit, leaves a mark on the surface, you are almost certainly holding sapphire. Rough sells for $50 to $2,000 per carat, depending on clarity and color saturation. Watermelon tourmaline in pegmatite. I have pulled these from granitic pegmatites in California, Brazil, and the old quarries of Maine. The matrix is coarse gray feldspar with dark opaque rods embedded that look exactly like lumps of coal frozen in concrete. Nothing about the exterior suggests value, but slice one of those dark rods perpendicular to its length, and you get a cross-section with a pink core grading smoothly to a green rim. The classic watermelon pattern that collectors fight over at gem shows. The chemistry is elegant. Manganese colors the core pink during early crystal growth. Then, iron shifts the outer zone to green as mineralizing fluids change composition over geological time. The Great Divide. Tourmaline from the Pala mining district in San Diego County, California, weighed 16 kilograms and measured 39 centimeters long. It sold for $1.2 million. That crystal came out of gray pegmatite that looked like road gravel. For field identification, tourmaline scratches at 7 on the Mohs scale, meaning a steel file will not mark it. Specific gravity lands between 3.0 and 3.2 on your kitchen scale water test. High clarity cross-section slices with sharp color zoning sell for $30 to $300 each. But most of the time, you are cutting black lumps and finding nothing but dark fractured scoral worth pennies. The hit rate is brutally low, which is exactly why the good ones command such high prices. Boulder opal. Walk the ironstone fields around Winton, Queensland, and you will feel the weight of these rocks before anything else registers. They look like rust-stained creek stones, brown, heavy, and pitted. A wet thumb across the exterior reveals nothing. But one careful cut into a natural seam can expose gem opal with electric play of color firing from a single face. In 2018, a miner near Winton pulled a 6,000 carat Boulder opal rough from ordinary brown ironstone. After one face cut, that stone was valued at 2.5 million Australian dollars. The opal formed when silica-rich groundwater seeped into cracks in the Cretaceous-aged Winton Formation ironstone over millions of years. Therefore, the gem is literally trapped inside the host rock like a painting sealed behind a brick wall. Wet a fresh saw mark or break surface and look for subtle color flashes. If you see even a faint shimmer of play of color on a wet surface, that rock is worth committing a full blade cut. In Queensland, you need a fossicking license, about $10 Australian, and you are limited to hand tools and shallow holes no deeper than 2 meters. But the recreational opal fields around Opalton and Yoa are still open to licensed fossickers. Respect every boundary marker you see. Claim jumping has plagued these fields since the 1890s, and the consequences for crossing a boundary are swift and personal. Garnet in mica schist. I grew up seeing these in the Belgian Ardennes, But my best fieldwork has been in the North Carolina Gem Belt and the North Pear Mountains of Tanzania. The schist is silver gray, flaky, and studded with dull red-brown blobs that look like dried blood clots embedded in concrete. But extract one carefully, clean it, and send it to a lapidary, and you can get rhodolite or almandine garnet worth $20 to $200 per carat faceted. Color change rhodolite from Tanzania, stones that shift from blue in daylight to purplish red under incandescent light, commands even higher premiums at auction. The formation is pure regional metamorphism. Heat and pressure at convergent plate boundaries grow garnet porphyroblasts inside the mica matrix at temperatures between 500 and 600 degrees Celsius. For field conformation, garnet scratches at 7 on the Mohs scale, and specific gravity runs 3.5 to 4.3. Use your $15 kitchen scale water displacement test before you bother spending hours on extraction. If the number falls below 3.5, you probably have a worthless iron-stained inclusion instead of gem garnet. The best stones are transparent with a deep red or purple hue and no visible fractures when examined under a below-Mohs 10-power triplet loop, about $47. That potato-shaped Thunderegg, the asphalt gray sapphire beryl, the coal-black tourmaline rod, the rust-stained Boulder, the blood-red garnet blob. Each one looked worthless until a blade hit stone. Jake Hoover looked at the surface and lost a fortune. The miners who tested first built them. The geology does not care what your eyes tell you. It rewards the ones who carry a $15 scale, a $25 ultraviolet lamp, a $47 loop, and the patience to run one more test before they walk away. The ugliest rocks on this planet are hiding the richest gems, but only if you know how to prove it.